Lotus family and Vajra family. And if you receive an empowerment in the Tathagata family, then that serves also for receiving empowerment in the Padma and the Vajra families. Now, there are some slight differences between these different families, but basically, the Tathagata family is the highest of these families. And so if you receive an empowerment, then you would receive an empowerment in this mandala, then it's serves to also receive empowerments in others. And so this and so the tantra of this family is, there's the Trisamaya Vyuha Tantra. And so we will have the empowerment of this family. Now, in the Sakya, there's a collection of all these tantras by a Sakya scholar. And so we have particularly invited Sakya Trizin to come. We have supplicated him fervently and asked him to come. And so on the morning of the 20th, His Holiness will give, the Sakya Trizin will give the empowerment of the Trisamaya Vyuha Tantra. And Sakya Trizin is someone who is a great master of practice as well as a scholar. And if we look at the life story of the 16th Karmapa, Ranjangrupa Dorje as well, we see that he was someone whom the 16th Karmapa felt very close to, and whom he tried to nurture. And so we have invited him to come and give the empowerment. Now, from one perspective, in the Tibetan schools or between the different scouts, we often have a bit of bias or sectarian feelings, and this does occur. And so we have invited him in order to also decrease our sectarian feelings. And so this is something that everyone needs to keep in mind. Now today is the last afternoon of our teachings, and I don't really have any particular advice to give on this last day, or any particular opinions either. But there are a few words to say. So I just say a few words now. When we talk about Tibetans, when we say a few words, we often end up speaking for a very long time, but I thought I would say a few things now. Now, what the Kagyu forefathers said, if we have a wild being or a rough being, if we have a rough or a wild being, now normally when we talk about our rough being, when we talk about the listening, contemplation, and meditation, we do this for the purpose to fix ourselves, to decrease the wildness in our being. So we have a fault in our mind, and so we need to do something to improve our mind. And with a hammer or a screwdriver, it is something that we need to fix instead by listening, contemplating, and meditation. For example, with nomads, when they have unruly yaks, or if they need to make, if they have yak leather that is tough, they have an order for this. First, they take the yak hide and they first soak it in water. Then they rub it with water, and then they rub it over and over with their hands. And so similarly, we have to first do the contemplation, listening, contemplation, and meditating. First, the listening is like the water, the contemplation is like the butter, and then the meditation is like the rubbing. And so, generally, our listening contemplation is a way in order to, is a method for us to soften and make gentle our rough, stiff minds. And so this is, and if we are able to do this, then this will be able to decrease our and if we are able to tame our rough and unruly mind, then this means that we're really doing the listening, contemplation, meditation. And if that does not happen, then that means that we're not. Now here we are, since most of us are monastics. So in the first place, it's important for us not to lose the venerable qualities of the Sangha. And so what this means now this is something that the forefathers of the Kagyu said. If you have parents have 2 or 3 children, and when they discuss which child they should have become a monk, then there's the one with the ugliest, the one with the least intelligence, the one who they don't think can ever get anything done. You think this one was not going to be able to do it? And so if we can't so they sent him off to become the monk, and they bring a bunch of many different things, a large amount of things, and bring him to the monastery. Or some children, if there are children who are always fighting, you can't do anything, and never listen to anything. So take those. So someday, if these children are going to get, it's possible that they'll cause a suit or get brought into print. And so instead, they take them particular, and basically they take all those that they can't do anything with and send them off to practice Dharma and send them to the monasteries. Now, this is just the general society practice. And so the best that they keep the best, and they send the worst away. And if you do that, this doesn't help it. Now, it's of course not like this with everyone, but there are situations such as that. And so those who don't sort of rise to the right mental level, they send off to be monks. Now, monks don't really have to do work, so it's like they have nothing else that they can do about it, and so they send the children off to the monasteries. However, whatever situation it is, whatever the situation that sent you off to makes you become a monk. Once we become the yellow, it is wonderful that we have the opportunity to wear the saffron robes and become monastic. This is a continuation of previous karma. It's a result of our previous aspirations. It is a great merit, and the reason it is because it means that we will be able to make an end to samsara for us. Now, what is the reason that it will bring an end to samsara for us? It is because merely going forth and becoming monastic in the teachings of the Buddha Shakyamuni means that in the time of the Buddha Maitreya, you will achieve a result. No matter how bad you are, if you're in the very least, will at least be liberated in the time of the final Buddha of the 100,000. So it is definite that you will be liberated from samsara. So for that reason, becoming monastic is very good. Also, because of the blessings of the perfect Buddha Shakyamuni, and so because of the karma practice, and because we have met the right lamas and so forth, we've been able to do study. We've been able to have, we can have good discipline. And so first, when we enter the manner, no matter how we enter the gate of the Dharma, in the end, we can say that it's something that is beneficial for us. And if you are skilled in it, then there's the hope that you can become a true, authentic great being. For example, Flotrok, the king of translators, Marpa the translator of Flotrok, was sent by his father to Drokmi Lhasa to study, become a translator. Now, you may not know the reason why he was sent to become a translator. Now, the reason was that Marpa, Marpa's nature was very wild. He was very rigid. And his father thought, oh, this person is either he's going to kill someone or else someone else will kill him. And there was real danger about him. So better to send him off to practice the Dharma and to do study. And so he sent him off. However, but in the end, he became the greatest of scholars and practitioners. And so no matter what the situation when we enter the gate of the Dharma, but if we know what to do with it, then we have the opportunity to become a true, authentic, great being. And so once we become a monastic, become venerable, so then what should we be like as monastics? We should be as the Buddha Shakyamuni taught in the Vinaya. Now some people thought that. Some people think that the image of a monastic should be something just do not have the image of a monastic on the outside. And they were rather very robes of the wrong colors, or now this is something that's not that much in it. Now in the past, there are many different. They made many different decorations on their robes, 18 on each side. And so now in the Vinaya, there was one. It was talked about having a shantab that was very plain, but not one that has many pleats as the Tibetans. And they don't. So many monastics wear them in order to become look good or be impressive, but not in order to have the contentedness and few desires as described in the Vinaya. And so it becomes like a fashion, like becomes monastic fashion. You've got the Tunga vest is a fashionable vest, and the Shantab is very fashionable. Some people say like the colors is, and some people say, oh, now you need to wear this color. You need to. Some people say that, but there's no point in doing that. Now, in the past, in the Kadampa tradition, there's a story about the Kadampa tradition. So now when there's the giving and taking of offerings. Now, when the person who's giving the offering of food and the person who's receiving the now in between they would put a stick in between the monk who's offering the good and the person who's. So because there was a stick there, the offerer made the offering, but the bhikshu would not take it. And so why is it? It's because there is a stick in between, as you said. And so this is making a border, and so I can't accept it, he said. And so there was that situation that happened. Now at that time, there was an old woman who had a field, but there was a monk who took that field. Now, the way the monk did this, and when the old lady heard that woman, she thought to herself, and when the when the old woman, when the bhikshu took the field, the old woman said, "Oh, it's too bad that I had a stick to break it in that." So this is a question of thinking about too rigidly about the minor details of the Vinaya. Now, when we practice we have the different rituals, the Poshada, the Yarne practice, and the Vivarana practice. Now, if you do this is something, if you do this properly and it inspires to faith in others, when you see people who are practicing everything in accord with the Vinaya, it instills faith. But if you do otherwise, well, there's people who, if you praise as greatest those who are not greatest those who don't follow the Vinaya traditions, then it's difficult for people to develop faith and pure perception of the Sangha. And so, in this respect, and so in this way, if we do not practice as is taught in the Vinayanas, and we keep discipline in terms of just a way that we think of ourselves, then this is not good. Now, there's also the sort of rigidity in our listening. When this occurs is when some people first memorize a few texts, and after they've memorized these texts, they understand a little bit, but it's not. But they do not really master all the words and really incorporate the words and meaning into their beatings. Then, in the meantime, they might go off to do services and so forth in the towns, and they study the texts that you need to study to go off and do services. And in this perspective, at first they study the text, and then later they go off and they do rituals in villages and so forth, or they become someone who's very glib, and they criticize everything. They say, "Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Oh, this isn't good." They're always looking for faults. But what it says in the scriptures taught by the Buddha in the past, one says an old bhikshu who said to him, to whom said to a young monk said, "Oh, you look like a monk," and in the end, "You look like a monkey." And in the end, he confessed this. He felt regret and confessed it. And because of that, he fell not into hell, but he did. But as a result of that, the ripening of that karma, he was reborn a monkey 500 times. And so, if you think of it as so we may say this. We can talk about it. We can talk about the karmic cause and effect. We say that if this will happen, that will happen. You should not do this. You should do this. This will happen if you don't. We say that. We say these. But in the end, even if a bhikshu, if you say to a bhikshu, you said you look like a monkey, then this can result in take rebirth as a monkey 100 times. This is something that we might know, but in practice, we need to illustrate. But if we don't refrain from that, then we are being rigid in our listening. And so for that reason, So if you study like this, and then you have more and more, you lose your faith. If you get more afflictions, then this is showing that your listening and study has been wrong. So the sign of listening is that you become peaceful and tamed. So it means that listening, the sign of listening is that you should develop peacefulness, gentleness, and carefulness in your mind. And so for these reasons, in brief, all of us who listen, contemplate, and meditate, as we study, we should have more pure perception of all the different things. We should have more faith, and our faith in the scripture to go stronger. And when we understand we should have more faith and more devotion in the Lama's qualities And if this is happening, this means that we're really bringing listening out of the path. It means that our Dharma is functioning in its Dharma. If this does not occur, then our studying, even if we don't practice it, if we do not practice it, if we study without practicing any Dharma, then there's a danger that we will fall into the lower realms in the future. And so for that reason, during the Gunchoe, we have all gathered here. And this is not just the Gunchoe. Now, usually when we are studying in our own shedras, in whatever time it is, at the beginning, we need to have an unmistaken motivation and unmistaken resolve. This is critically important. Even if we hear no more than a single word of Dharma, we should make it if it be something that helps us to decrease our afflictions and increase our faith, devotion, pure perception, then that means that the Dharma is functioning properly. And so this is something we all need to keep in mind. And so I don't have that much to say now. Now, during our teachings on the 100 Short Instructions, it's not just the Shedra, but there are also quite a few monastic and lay people, in particular quite a few lay people who have also come. And sometimes I think you've got a little bit of a sort of a loss a little bit. Now, most of what I'm reciting is mainly I'm just reading all these. Now, these instructions have not been but these 100 short instructions have not been translated into English or Chinese. And while I'm just reciting them, then you all really can't understand anything at all. And so at that problem, I would like to. I think that this is a bit of a loss for you. However, but the main people I'm doing the instructions for are the Sangha members from the various Shedras. And so in terms of the question of who's important, so it's thinking about it in terms of who it's primarily for, it's difficult for me to do this, something that's appropriate for everyone. But you have come every day, disregarding all the difficulties that you've come in over and over again, and I'm very happy that you have. And this is something that encourages me and makes me feel like I have support. So I'd in particular like to say thank you to all of you. Actually, from the very first day when I began, when I said on the first day when it began, when someone teaches, it is when the person who's teaching it's difficult for them to get at. May have many faults, but the instructions that they give have meaning. But if they're benefited and you practice them, then it's benefit. There's no problem with that. Because even if the individual has some faults, then because it is, but the words have no faults, and so there's something that we can practice. And so for this reason, as I said before, at the time that I was recognized as the Karmapa, it was not that I had made all the practices, preparations for becoming a Karmapa, and was ready to be the Karmapa. At that time, I was only 7 years old. At that time, I didn't even know what a Karmapa is. And so that point, many people asked me. Many people asked me, when you were recognized as the Karmapa, so how did you feel? Many people have asked me this. And the feeling that I had is I didn't really have any particular feeling. At that time, I thought that maybe I'll get more opportunities to play. I'll have more friends to play with, I thought. Other than that, I didn't think anything at all. And so for that reason, so when I had, it's like without any preparation, I was given the responsibility, or the great name, the high title, and there was like nothing I could do. And so even if I'm not able, I had to pretend I did, as if I didn't know, I had to pretend it. And so there's no choice but to do this. From my own part, I've taken this responsibility, and so once I've taken this, and if people say, "Now you've taken the responsibility of becoming the Karmapa, you've accepted the title, are you happy about that? Is it fun? Is it good? Does it help you in the mind?" And I say, it's not all that happy. It's not all that pleasant. And what is fun is when you're taking a big responsibility for one aspect, you have all the worries of bearing that responsibility. You have a heavy responsibility, and then in addition to that, there are many outer and inner situations that occur. And it's very difficult for there to be happiness or fun in your mind. However, but I feel like I'm doing something where I can do something that has meaning, that'll bring benefit. And the reason is, and so I know whether or not I have any questions of abandonment or realization, but whether or not you have them at the moment I bear the title of